the Public Accounts Committee has just finished grilling political analyst and also the owner and CEO of the consulting house, that's Professor Mutahi Ngunyi, over his involvement with the National Youth Service. He was paid a total of 90 million shillings for consultancy, and it says that he came up with the blueprint of the entire NYS refurbishment. Brenda Wanga was there and she was listening in. Brenda, what stood out for you during that interrogation?
Well, Trevor, like you mentioned there, we have been here for the last 3 hours listening to submissions by the consulting house owned and run by political analyst Mutahi Ngunyi, who is also the principal fellow at that consulting company, defending himself against allegations of impropriety in the NYS scandal. Trevor, what did stand out for most of us who were here following these proceedings was the revelations by Mutahi Ngunyi that they indeed noticed that something wasn't going right at the NYS early on and raises issues with the relevant minister, cabinet secretary, beg your pardon, at that time, Anne Waiguru. He says that in some meetings he attended with the CS, he did tell him that this system was not strong enough to handle the influx or the increase in budget. You will know initially the NYS was funded at around 1 billion. Mutahi's proposal brought that budget up to about 22 billion. So he says he did flag this issue out to the cabinet secretary that the systems in place were not strong enough to deal with this huge amounts of money, and that he says the CS told him categorically that he should not fight corruption in that ministry, that there were systems, there were organizations and institutions that were best fitted to do that, and so he was told to just do his work, which was to offer consultancy services, advisory services and technical support to the implementation of this project. He, however, does admit that he was an architect, or rather the chief, in his own words, he says he was a chief surgeon of this project. He does also admit that during the implementation of this ambitious 5-point program, there was a lot of not intimidation, so to speak, but also that the people in place at that time were not very welcome to the changes that they were proposing to implement at the NYS. And so there was a bit of resistance, and he says that in as much as they did fight, try to change the systems there was a lot of resistance, and that the system that they tried to dismantle at the NYS, he says he is afraid that they are making a comeback, and that if things are not checked, we could be in for a bigger surprise. He says if these systems are allowed to gather again, what was lost, over 700 million shillings, will look like child's play as compared to what could happen if these people come back to do what they have been doing in the past. Trevor?
Well, Brenda, thanks for that analysis. And there's also another question that came up, whether if he was the chief surgeon, what are the chances that he wasn't really involved in that corruption himself? How did he answer that question?
Well, Trevor, he did say that as much as he was there to lay out her plans on how this ambitious program was to be carried out, the actual work of implementing, making sure that what he had suggested is done, fell with the Director General of the NYS. So he was there, yes, to offer support, but it was really not up to him to make sure that the trenches are being dug in Kibera, what public works are being done elsewhere. So he says he was there to offer support, but the actual work of making sure that this was happening on the ground lies squarely with the Director General of the NYS. Trevor?
Before I let you go, I just want a quick analysis on the Kafura issue. He said, I know he mentioned that he's never met Kafura before. And also there's the issue of him having refunded the 12 million shillings that was overpaid. Is he going to give an interest for value of money?
Trevor, on the issue of Kafura, he says, as he has said in the past, that he's never met Kafura, and in fact, he says he is going to take legal action against her in a court of law to prove that whatever she said in her affidavit, as far as it concerns him, is a lie, and he says he will prove that when the time comes. On the issue of the refund of the monies, he says he did pay back that amount of money yesterday, but says that unless ordered by the committee to pay interest, he does not think he will be doing so out of his volition. He says a question of morality, there's a question of the legal aspect of it. So if he agrees to pay that interest, then it would amount to him admitting a liability. And he says unless ordered to do so by a court of law, he will not be doing that. Back to you, Trevor.
All right, thanks, Brenda. That's Brenda Wanga speaking to us live from Parliament, where the political analyst Mutahi Ngunyi was being grilled by the Public Accounts Committee on his involvement with NYS. He admitted that he's been paid the entire 90 million which he quoted for consultancy fees, but the MPs also said that that was a fertile breeding ground for corruptions and others to eat, so to speak.